Hey folks, joining Lone Oak Survival. So today we're going to be doing a debris hut. Yes, a debris hut, the basic shelter, guys. Why? Because there's always new people coming into survival and bushcraft and preparedness and homesteading. Why not teach them as well? I don't want to leave anybody behind if I can help them. So first question is this: would you rather make a camp out here in the open or in here in the forest in some brushy area? So let's check this out first, because I'd like to point out something as well, especially for new people. So in here's not too bad. You got a big, nice break from the wind, per se. But look down here. That wind can still cut through here. Granted, it's blocked a little bit by the dead branches and some of the tree trunks down there by the balsam fir, but most of that wind's actually not blocked. So first things first, always kind of realize that. Secondly, at least in this campsite, I'm not saying this is going to always happen, but that's right, Widowmaker. There's one behind that one too. That tree, Widowmaker. You got some, if you can see them in the camera. Right there. Those two dead aspens, Widowmaker. That big one, Widowmaker. That one behind him, Widowmaker. That could be a possible Widowmaker right there as well. And it's no guarantee, and it looks like that balsam fir is actually dead as well. Yeah, that is very, very weak. So as awesome as this campsite would be, the wind picked up. Right now it's kind of going in gusts of 10 miles per hour. Bad situation, or it could be. So I don't know, but I want to make this shelter in the open so we can just kind of see how it is anyways. I just want to point this out. So stick around, guys. All right, folks. So for demonstration purposes only, because naturally I build my shelter more so in a brushy area like that to help block the wind, because you always cut down balsam for branches and just make a really thick wall. Is it going to work 100%? No, unless you have like a tarp backing it or whatever. But it's better than nothing. But for demonstration purposes, I'm going to film it out here at the usual campsite so everybody can see it plain as day. And, well, first things first, when you're doing a debris hut, you want a ridge pole. Usually something straight, roughly, from experience sake, I would probably say roughly 3-ish inches. Hello. What about you? If you can help it, score. And this is actually unattended. I just kind of looked back here. So this is kind of actually pretty perfect. Sweet, I don't have to cut down a live tree. That makes me happy. So let me just kind of get this tree collected, and I'll get back to you guys on that. Of course, I'll record it in case you want to watch me cut a tree. Bunch of weirdos. Obviously, always be conscious of where your legs, your feet are. You don't have to like baseball the hatchet or axe. Just simple little tap. Majority of the time will do the work for you. If you're teaching younger kids or whatever to use a hatchet, you're doing something like this, I always tell my kids to choke up on the handle where they feel comfortable and can control it. Which then, be careful where your knuckles are against the tree itself, obviously. But that way, it's far more controlled for someone either weaker or younger. So, I'll just pull this out. Nope. Okay. It's pretty good. All right, folks. So whenever you start a camp, right? So you're lost or doing survival business, whatever it's going to be, and you want to make a shelter, first things first, you got to think about the campsite, okay? 4W is 1G, as I say. So get the wind as a factor. You got widowmakers, water, firewood, and game trail. I know I'm not near any game trails, okay? So predatory animals are kind of out of the equation, per se. Widowmakers, the only one I really see off camera here is that one right there. I guess can't really see it with the pointing, but there's a dead aspen right there. That aspen looks a little suspicious. There is a dead, smaller tree there, but still a concern. That one does have dead branches on it over here, but looking at the distance between where I am and those trees are, and what kind of trees stand in between them and I, doesn't really pose much of a threat, especially over here. This is all just live pine trees with no big dead branches above me. I'm good to go. Okay, so Widowmakers, kind of out of the equation. Water, well, as I said in plenty of videos, I don't have water on my property, at least standing water, yet. Really thinking about doing a pond, but whatever. But say there's a river or some body of water nearby. Okay, whatever, cool. Reality-wise, it'd just be the snow is what I have. Now, wind, kind of sucky factor. I know right now, looking at the tree tops, where the snow is kind of drizzling and whatnot, it's coming out of the southeast. Not unusual, especially if we get a weather pattern or a storm. It usually comes out of the southeast anyways, southeast. It does come out of the west sometimes, and I know a lot of the weather comes out of Canada from the northwest, hitting us this way where I live at. So kind of a shitty situation with the wind and whatnot. So I'm going to try to think about what way I want my shelter opening to face. And again, I'd probably be in more of a sheltered area anyways, again, in shrubby area like the balsam fir forest over there, post out in the open. But just in case you don't have that luxury, which way are you going to sit here and have your shelter facing or open facing anyways? So I'm going to choose probably east because it's the lesser of all evils, I'll say. Because you don't want to go to the south because most weather patterns, south, southeast, whatever's going to be, at least in my situation. And then definitely want to going north or northwest because that's, again, where most of the wind and weather patterns come from as well. So east is the less of all evils. So we're going to face it that way. Now, also, I got my ridgepole, but I want to find either crotch of a tree, like I said, the V, or I want to either make a tripod or bipod, which I'm going to try to keep it all natural per se. So I'm going to look for a forked stick. So we're back. All right, guys. So what I have so far in the shelter is not much, obviously. I found a Y stick right here, and I sharpened the point here down to stake point, obviously. Kind of wedged it in the ground with my body weight, and then I gave a couple taps with my hatchet here, put the wedge pull up. It's got that natural bend in it, so it does tend to roll, but how I negate that is just by putting two simple stakes right here to kind of squeeze the stick, or excuse me, the ridge pull together so it doesn't roll so much. Now, not necessary with all your shelters like this, but this situation, it kind of is. Now, next comes the longest part, in my opinion. You can either do two things, depending on your environment, what kind of trees and debris you have with you. You can either A, get a bunch of rib stakes, so dead branches, doesn't matter what species of tree, as long as it's not contact poisonous to you or whatever. But in my environment, not really a big concern. So you can use a bunch of dead branches, and then we get pine boughs and throw that on top of that. Or you can use just pine boughs. I'll probably do half and half to kind of show you guys the difference. But yeah, this is the longest part of this whole situation. Now, I didn't complete this side of the shelter yet, just because I want to show you guys this. This is why I prefer just pine boughs itself, opposed to taking dead dry branches like this. Because then you have all these little twigs in the way, and while you're trying to scoot in there, it could possibly move all the stuff, shift shelter around, or shift coverage around and whatnot, and it can kind of disrupt your whole shelter system, opposed to the sleek, or usually sleek, I'll say, pine boughs. So there's very little that's disrupting me getting in here opposed to this. That's why I always prefer just the pine boughs. Plus, on top of that, you're not really trying to build a stick fort per se. Like, the ribs would be important if you didn't have pine trees. You had to actually use the forest debris on the floor. But my situation is different. I have coniferous trees I can use and plenty of them, so I can sit there and just skip the whole dead branch rib cage in a sense. So let me finish this all up, guys, and we'll kind of climb down in here. As you guys can see, it's not the best towards the bottom here. There's still some gappage, which this stuff I would use the actual forest floor debris more so along the bottom to help kind of shore up any gaps, because mind you, your body's going to be roughly right here. Plus, you're going to want insulation to sleep on as well, because when it comes to shelters, and you guys are kind of angled weird, but when it comes to shelters, you always want to think of sleeping under, in, and on something. Okay, so what would that be? Under would be you, in would be I, and then what would be UIO? Okay, so IOU, think of something like that, some kind of acronym. It'll help you always remember, guys, so stick around. All right, gang, it's been about a half hour since the last time I filmed, but this is what I got so far. I'm gonna leave this blank because I do want to show you something about it, but due to kind of time constraints, I can't really sit here and do this how I really want, because I gotta put this soon. But make sure you got the debris down below where your body's gonna be at. Make sure this is at least minimum, I want to say 6 inches of debris on here. Don't be afraid to use the forest debris like I am. If you can help it, don't use the snow cover kind, but if that's all you have, that's what you have. You guys can see here. Okay, I put a little more here, make it more thick. And also, it does depend on the time of season too, because the ticks, chiggers, mites, and everything that bites want to kind of smoke them out of the debris and your bedding before you put it in there and sleep on it. But that's what I got so far. So hold on. All right, guys. So now you're gonna laugh at me trying to get in here. What I wanted to show was when you pick your bedding, make sure if it's pine boughs, they don't have snow on them. Make sure they're as dry as possible. Move this hatchet out of the way. Oh boy. Here we go. Trying to squeeze into this tiny little shelter. There we are. Debris hut, guys. So basically what this means is you can have a small fire out front here, and you can sit there and stay warm here, especially if the wind's blowing somewhat this way. As long as you have, say, a couple sticks, 2-3 sticks smashed together, that's acting like a chimney for the smoke to follow, because smoke follows the tallest object around it. It will help. I'm not gonna say it's 100%, but it'll help keep smoke out of your shelter, out of your face. And like always, make sure your bedding is 4 to 6 inches compressed material. Compressed as you're laying on it. Wintertime, we see 6. Warmer months, I'll say 4 is okay, but 4 to 6 is kind of the goal you want to go with. But yeah, let me show you the inside of the shelter real quick before we end the video. Obviously, you guys can see it's not the easiest to get in and out of these things ever, so don't be in a hurry. Okay, really close up here, guys, for you. But this is the debris side. This is without debris. want to be fair and show you as much as I can with shelter. But as you guys can see, very open to air. Where this side is not. So that's why it's very, very important to always have debris. Like I was saying, that's why it's very, very important to always have debris. And that debris has got to be pretty thick. So I forgot what I told you guys beforehand, but at least 6 inches. Wintertime, I dare say a foot. Either pine boughs, forest floor stuff, depending on how deep the snow is and whatnot. But you want it pretty damn thick. That way it stops the convective breeze along with your bedding. You want that, well, heck, 6 inches compressed and a small fire out front there to help heat your shelter. Now, this shelter is okay if you don't have the ability to have a large fire. Wintertime, you better have a large fire, as in a long fire. That's why I like lean-to shelters, because one, they're way easier to get in and out of. But if this is all you have, say limited supplies or whatever's going to be around your area for a shelter, or maybe you just want a smaller shelter for whatever weird reason, this is kind of a good go-to staple. And anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, stay frosty, prep up, yeah, bless.